So, let's talk about the SpaceX IPO. The entire financial world is buzzing about it, right? And the numbers being thrown around, well, they sound almost mythical, like something out of a sci-fi movie. We're talking trillions. But you have to wonder, is there any real substance behind all that hype?
Yeah, that's the big question on everyone's mind. $1.5 trillion. Is that just ridiculous? Or, and this is going to sound crazy, could it actually be a bargain? It's a number that's so big it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around what it all means.
Well, what's so fascinating about this is that when you really start to dig in, that whole valuation, I'm talking all the grand plans for Mars, the data centers in space, literally everything, it all comes down to one single thing.
Okay, so to really get a handle on what that one thing is, we've got to start with what's actually paying the bills at SpaceX right now. And that is, of course, Starlink.
You know, it's funny. The rocket launches get all the media attention, right? All the fire and smoke. But the real moneymaker, the financial engine of SpaceX today, it's already Starlink. We're talking a business that's pulling in over $10 billion a year. But, and this is a big but, to even begin to justify that trillion-dollar price tag, that engine is going to need a serious upgrade. And that upgrade has a name, the Starlink V3 satellite. Now, this isn't just some small update, a minor tweak here and there. No, this is a monster upgrade. It's designed to 10x the network's capacity. And that is the kind of growth that could rocket Starlink's revenue into that $50 to $100 billion a year territory.
So that leads to the obvious question, doesn't it? If these satellites are so important, why aren't they just launching them right now? Get them up there. Well, as you might have guessed, there's a catch, a really big one.
And that catch is called Starship. This is it. This is the single most important piece of this entire trillion-dollar puzzle.
Okay, so for years, SpaceX's go-to has been the Falcon 9, right? It's been their workhorse, super reliable. But these new V3 satellites, they were designed for a completely different kind of beast. Think about it this way. Starship has about 5 times the cargo space of a Falcon 9. It's not just a bigger truck. It's like going from a pickup truck to a massive cargo ship. It completely changes the game.
And these new V3 satellites, they are just absolute units. We're talking 3 to 4 times heavier than the old ones, but look at the performance. A 10x jump in download capability and a frankly insane 24x increase in uplink. The bottom line is they are just too big and too powerful for the old rockets. They don't just benefit from Starship, they absolutely require it.
And here's where the magic really happens. It's this multiplier effect. When you take Starship's enormous cargo bay and you fill it with these superpowered V3 satellites, a single Starship launch can deploy 20 times the network capacity of a Falcon 9 launch. Let that sink in. 20 times. That's the math. That's how you get to that 10x revenue growth we were talking about.
So, okay, when you step back and look at the whole picture, you start to realize something really important. Investing in SpaceX right now, it's not really about their current proven business. It's a massive, high-stakes, all-or-nothing bet.
And our source for this explainer put it perfectly. They called it a venture capital-esque investment. What does that mean? It means you're not buying into a stable, predictable company like, say, Coca-Cola. You're basically funding a moonshot, or, well, in this case, a Mars shot.
So let's just be crystal clear about this. That multi-trillion-dollar number has almost nothing to do with the Falcon 9. It is 100% based on the promise of a fully reusable Starship, one that can unlock a whole new space economy, starting with a supercharged Starlink. If Starship doesn't work, that valuation, it just completely falls apart. The math doesn't add up.
Okay, so this brings up a really interesting question, right? The timing. If everything, literally everything, is riding on a rocket that's still in its test phase, why on earth would you IPO now?
The answer is because things are moving at lightning speed. Right now, in early 2026, we're in what they call the integrated flight test phase. But here's the key. The plan is to announce the first commercial launches in the first quarter of this year, with actual payloads flying by the end of the year. This isn't some far-off dream anymore. It is happening right now.
And this right here is the strategic genius behind the timing. The hype is at a peak. Investor belief is sky high. So you IPO now to capture that belief, raise an absolute mountain of cash, and use that money to fund the expensive trial and error phase,
cash for 20 mess-ups, as they say. It's like using the valuation to fund the very thing needed to justify the valuation. And get this, if they can successfully launch just one commercial payload before the IPO, that trillion-dollar number is pretty much locked in.
Okay, so as we start to wrap this up, what's the bottom line? With all the noise and all the hype, what should you actually be paying attention to? Well, it turns out there's really one thing that matters most.
You need to forget about the hype. Forget all the noise about Mars colonies and everything else for a minute. Every single bit of it, boils down to the progress of Starship. That's it. The speed at which they can test, fail, learn, and repeat. That is the only story that truly matters right now.
So if you want to know what to watch, here's your checklist. First, look at the iteration speed. How often are they launching test flights? Are they learning and improving quickly? Second, watch their progress toward full reusability. That's the secret sauce for making this whole thing affordable. And finally, and this is the big one, keep your eyes peeled for those first commercial launches. Their success or failure will be the ultimate proof.
Because in the end, it really is that simple. SpaceX is betting its entire future on Starship. That incredible, mind-boggling valuation is a bet on Starship. So the real question, the one you have to ask yourself, is would you take that bet?